All right, so today we're diving into what has to be one of the most dramatic career changes in all of history. I mean, we're talking about an 80-year-old shepherd, basically hiding out in the desert, who gets tapped to lead a full-blown revolution. This, of course, is the incredible story of Moses and the burning bush.
Okay, I want you to just picture this for a second. For 40 years, 40, your life is just dust, sun, and the sound of sheep. You know, after this dramatic escape from the fancy halls of Egypt, this is Moses' new reality. 40 years of just quiet solitude. But as we're about to see, this massive stretch of silence is really just the calm before a storm that's going to change everything.
So let's start at the beginning. How does a prince end up becoming, well, basically a shepherd? Our story really kicks off with this massive reversal of fortune. Moses literally trades the marble halls of a palace for the dusty pastures of Midian, living as a fugitive, just trying to get by. And you know, this whole event doesn't just happen in a vacuum. When you look at the theological commentaries, they all point to this moment as the crucial turning point for the entire book of Exodus. It's the hinge, really. It's the moment that connects Moses's, his hidden past to Israel's very public deliverance. Literally everything pivots on this one conversation at a burning bush. 40 years! Seriously, just let that number sink in. That's how long Moses is out there, living as a fugitive in Midian after killing that Egyptian. From the outside looking in, you'd think his life's purpose was completely derailed, just lost to the sands of time.
But here's the key insight from the commentary we're looking at. God's delay doesn't mean denial. This wasn't a dead end for Moses at all. It was a training ground. This long, quiet period of, obscurity, it wasn't a mistake. It was the whole point. It was all preparation.
Yeah, think of it like this. Commentators call it his wilderness university. For 40 years, he was learning practical, on-the-job skills, how to find water where there's no water, how to protect the vulnerable from predators, how to lead with just this, stubborn patience. And what do you know? These are the exact skills he's going to need to guide not just a flock of sheep, but a nation of 2 million people through that very same desert.
All right, so after 4 decades of this intense training, we find Moses on what must have felt like just another Tuesday. The 10,000th ordinary day. He's leading his flock near a place called Horeb, the mountain of God. And right then, in an instant, the totally mundane is about to collide with the absolutely miraculous. I mean, seriously, think about it. In the middle of your daily grind, your commute, your work, what would it take to get you to just stop everything and pay attention? For Moses, it wasn't going to be a quiet whisper or some subtle little sign. No, it was something that completely broke the laws of nature. He sees something that just shouldn't be possible. A bush, completely engulfed in flames. Now, a burning bush in a dry desert, that's not that unusual. But this fire isn't consuming anything. There's no destruction. It's just burning with this impossible life, a total paradox of flame without ash. I mean, it's a sight practically engineered to make you stop and say, what is going on?
So the text says, the angel of the Lord appeared in the flames. But theologians are quick to point out, hey, this isn't just any regular angel. They often called this a Christophany, which is a fancy way of saying they believe this is a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ, basically God himself appearing directly. So get this isn't a message from God. This is God, right there present in the fire.
And as Moses gets closer, God calls out to him from the bush. And listen to how he does it. Moses, Moses. He says his name twice. In the Bible, whenever God calls someone's name twice like that, it's like a big red flag signaling a moment of incredible importance. It's personal, it's direct, it's urgent. It means this shepherd, who thinks he's a nobody, is personally known by the creator of the universe.
And what's God's very first command? It's not about some grand mission. It's about where he's standing. He tells Moses, remove your sandals. Why? Well, it's not because the dirt itself is special. It's because God's presence, right there and then, has instantly turned this ordinary patch of desert into holy ground. And this simple act, taking off his shoes, was just loaded with meaning. By doing that, Moses was physically showing his humility, his reverence. It was like he was leaving the dust of his ordinary world behind and admitting, I am unworthy to stand here in the presence of a perfectly holy God. So there he is, barefoot, humbled, completely stripped of any status he thought he had. And it's in that exact posture of reverence that God starts to speak, not about some brand new plan, but about fulfilling a promise that's centuries old. First, God identifies himself.
And he doesn't say he's some new God on the block. No, he connects himself to the past. He is the covenant-keeping God of Israel's fathers. And listen to the tense he uses. He says, I am, not I was. The implication here is huge. It suggests that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are still very much alive in his presence, and that the promise he made to them is still active and is, in fact, about to come true.
Then God lays out his plan with 4 powerful I have statements. It's a direct response to anyone who thought he was distant or didn't care. He says, I have seen the affliction, I have heard their cry, I am aware of their suffering, and because of all that, the 4th step is pure action. I have come down to deliver them. It's like a divine diagnosis followed by a divine intervention. Perfect.
And this moment right here signals a huge thematic shift in the Bible. You know, commentators love to contrast the book of Genesis, which is so full of stories of human effort and, frankly, human failure, with the book of Exodus. Because Exodus is about one thing: God's power and God's triumph. This whole rescue mission, it's not going to be about human cleverness or strength. It's designed from the ground up to be a showcase of God's power alone.
Okay, so God has laid out the problem and his divine solution. Now comes the big reveal, the moment he tells Moses what his role is going to be in this whole thing. And this leads us to the climax, the call, and the incredibly human response. And this is it, the commission. Therefore, come now, and I will send you. After 40 years of exile, this 80-year-old shepherd is being sent to go toe-to-toe with the most powerful man on the planet and lead an entire nation to freedom. I mean, talk about a monumental, seemingly impossible task.
And Moses' reaction? It is so painfully human. There's no, yes, finally, my time has come. Nope. Instead, it's just a question that comes from pure shock. Who am I? You can just imagine him, not even looking at the God in the fire, but looking down at his own cracked hands and dusty feet, seeing nothing but his own inadequacy for a job this big.
And right there, that question brings this ancient story from the desert right to our doorstep. Moses' journey started with a call that he felt totally 100% unqualified to answer. And it really forces us to ask ourselves, right? What burning bush might we be ignoring in our own lives simply because we're so focused on our own limitations instead of on the incredible power of the one who is doing the calling?